Hey guys, and welcome back. And I am with my co-host again, Eric Vitale, and we have another special interview for you guys. Eric, who do we have today?
Well, today we decided to have some fun and do a Friday the 13th episode, and we have Lauren Marie Taylor, who starred as Vickie in Friday the 13th Part 2.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Lauren Marie Taylor.
Oh, baby.
How you doing tonight or today?
I'm good. I feel like I should get my little djembe, whatever, my daughter's guitar, or my husband's keyboard, and try to rock out like the rest of your guests.
Yeah, we just interviewed Metallica's engineer a couple weeks ago. It was a good one.
Yeah, I know. I was watching it. That's why I feel like I'm in such amazing and unusual for me company. So it's really cool. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Now.
Yeah, we wanted to have some fun and do a Friday the 13th episode. And as you know, I've been a fan of you and your film for a very long time. So we're just going to take a little trip down memory lane and talk about the movies and whatever you want to talk about when it comes to Friday the 13th Part 2.
So do either of you do anything special for Friday the 13th?
I kind of lurk around my neighborhood a little bit, making strange sounds and scream. Sometimes I'll go to where they filmed Part 1, the Blairstown Diner. This year, I'm doing an interview with a friend of mine who's also I'm working with on an AI horror movie, which we can talk about later, B. Harrison Smith. So we're doing a big interview for Rad TV. But usually, except it's like having a birthday, an extra birthday. This time it'll be 3 times this year,
right?
Because you get so many messages on Instagram and people wishing you. It's just like having a birthday. I don't know. It's like I spend a lot of the day fielding, messages from people, but sometimes I'll be at an appearance. It all depends on what comes up. I was in St. Augustine, Florida, with Ry Barrett from In a Violent Nature for last year for Friday the 13th. So. Yeah. And last year we were celebrating Jason's actual birthday at Blairstown Diner, and that was an awesome event. Birthday cake and everything. It was. So I guess that's what I do. What about you guys?
Not much has changed, to be honest with you. We watch the movies. We'll do a marathon, but my wife and I have been in North Carolina the past 2 years, and we made some really great friends. And we actually have a Friday the 13th party, and we hang out in the backyard. We set up a TV. The movies are going. We're drinking. We're eating snacks. We're hanging out. So that's what we do.
my kind of party. I mean, I've got 2 black cats, so every day is like a Friday the 13th around here.
I guess for those that don't know who you are or how you got into Friday the 13th, how did you get the gig? How did you get involved with the Friday the 13th franchise?
It was crazy because it wasn't even a franchise yet.
Yes.
We auditioned. I don't even think the first one came out. And if it had, I wasn't aware of it. But it was just another, audition. As actors, you're auditioning for things. I've been doing mostly commercials and auditioning for soap operas because that's what I wanted to do. And, and I was a singer, dancer, actor back then, too. So I was auditioning for some shows and, community theaters, traveling, theaters and stuff like that. So when the call came for somebody who was, all-American, slightly, I don't want to say geeky, but I was, 16 years of Catholic school. You can't get any geekier than that in New York. So I kind of fit the bill, and I went into the audition, and I mean, it was just like, yep. Like at the end of dog shows when they point to the winning dog, the German Shepherd dog, it was like the Lauren Marie Taylor brunette, geeky looking mousy brunette girl for Vickie. And that's pretty much it.
Do you remember what the auditions were like? Do you remember meeting anyone for the first time?
Well, I'd known Tom McBride from commercials, and he was really the only person I met. There were a couple of other guys that I read with. Mm-hmm. And you always know when things are going your way when they say, can you stay and read with someone else? Can you stay and read with someone else? Meanwhile, there are other girls out there waiting to read either for the part that, you're reading for or another role. And they just kept me in the room. And I knew, just from experience, they keep you in the room. You got a pretty good shot of either booking it or, being kept in mind for the next project that the people are going to do.
So the next question is, how many did you only audition once? Some people have to come back and do like a second or third audition. How many times did you have to go?
I believe it was just once.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure, because don't forget, it was in New York, I don't want to say I was a big fish in a big pond, but I had been working steadily in commercials and auditioning for things. And people kind of knew, the casting directors knew who I was. They knew I was reliable. They knew I was easy to work with. I could memorize anything. They'd seen me in plays and whatnot. So it was just kind of like, I don't want to sound like it's like, but because the pond was much smaller than it is now, where everybody wants to be in a movie. Everybody wants to be in Terrifier or Scream or another Friday the 13th or whatever. It wasn't like that back then. There were much fewer of us because acting was and it still is up to a certain extent. There's a lot more out there now with, streaming services and whatnot, but it wasn't huge. If you wanted to be an actor, you had to understand that you were probably going to starve or have to work in a restaurant at night. And I was so fortunate that I didn't have to do that because I supported myself by doing TV commercials.
So that reminds me of something that Zach Braff said from Scrubs.
Uh-huh.
He said that when he got the part on Scrubs, and he was working as a waiter at a restaurant when he landed that role, and he worked on set that first day. And he quit like the day before, and his work called him and asked him if he would work that night. So he got done working on set on Scrubs and then went to his old job one last time.
I had a very similar experience in between doing, what did I do? Girls Night Out Neighbors. In between doing Neighbors and booking the soap opera, I was still doing commercials, but at that point, I had my own apartment. So making ends meet, I needed a lot more cash on hand. So I took a small job in a VIP travel agency, which was really cool. I was talking to somebody about this in Atlanta over the Days of the Dead weekend recently, about meeting people at the airport. And because it was a VIP agency, we had liaisons at the various airports. And it's like, get Gene Wilder off the plane right now. They need to Dustin Hoffman, get Dustin Hoffman out of that airport right now. They need to reshoot some stuff. And while you're at it, grab Jessica Lange too for Tootsie. So it was kind of cool. And I remember when I booked the soap opera called Loving back in 1983. And I was, in the process of planning our wedding and everything like that. I got the call, of course, they weren't cell phones then. So you get the call in the office, like, Hoffman Travel, how can I help you? Lauren, you're going, like pack your bags type of thing. They're like, you booked the role. You got a 3-year contract with ABC Network. And I was like, oh, cool. So I said, when do I start? And they said, I said, I can't do April. I said, I'm going to be on my honeymoon. They're going to have to, either deal with it, right? So I did the same thing like Zach Braff. I go into the office of the manager, and I said to her, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice because I booked a gig on TV and it's a 3-year contract. And she's like, oh, okay, well, can you work part-time? No. And she goes, oh, okay. I mean, I kid you not, she actually spoke like that. I'm not going to say her name, but she's and so I was like, okay. So I go on the honeymoon, come back, gangbusters right away on the soap opera. Had those old answering machines that were recorded tapes and whatnot, and old tape decks. Hi, Lauren. This is Wait from Hoffman Travel. We were wondering if you could fill in sometime this week. I call her back and I go, Lee, I'm on national network television now.
Right.
And I was like, I'm sorry, but good luck. Yeah. Sorry, that was a long story.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I know you guys stood at the camp when you were filming.
Yes.
So did you all get on a bus and go to camp together, or did you drive yourself there? And what was it like living, because it was in Connecticut. My wife and I visited the camp. It's beautiful. It's actually it's a lot bigger than in New Jersey at Camp Novi Bosco. That lake is massive.
It is. It's huge. Yeah. No, we didn't go all together because I was a city rat. I didn't even have a driver's license until I was 21, 22 years old. 23, 24, actually. Yeah, 24 years old, I got a driver's license. Anyway, that said, I did not drive myself there because I didn't have a driver's license. So I took a bus to Kent, Connecticut. They told, you're in contact through your agents, and they're like, oh, well, Lauren can get this and that bus, Greyhound, whatever it was back then. And so I took a bus, but I didn't arrive at the same time as everybody else. We all arrived separately. And then, you get met at the bus depot and they drive you in the the old fashioned pickup trucks to set. I know Marta and Bill Randolph and Walt, they were all there before I was.
Walt Gorney, Crazy Ralph.
He was a great guy. He was a very nice guy. So yes, I took a bus there, and then we stayed at the camp, which was.
So how long was it? Like how many? I know it wasn't that long of a shoot, but it was at least like 2 months.
Yeah, it was about that. Yeah, about 8 weeks or so. But I was able. There were periods of time where they didn't need you, and if you did, and because I lived in New York City, I could just hop a bus and I would go back, to my place in Brooklyn at the time. So that was kind of cool. I didn't have to stay at the camp when I wasn't being used. And I was just like, I'm bored out of my skull. Let me use this opportunity to audition for other stuff. So I said, I'll be back in a few days, guys. And I would just take the bus back and then I'd take it back up and they'd pick me back up again.
What do you remember about your death scene? Like, do you remember, like, how many takes was that? Like, what was it like filming that?
It was a lot of takes because I had this, they had us bite into a blood capsule.
Yeah.
And outside of the capsules, they're like gelatin or something like that. And because it was taking so long, it was a dolly shot. So they had the camera on this like little train type of thing, coming at you. Like on wheels, I guess you would call it. Just wanted me to scream and scream and scream and scream and scream. And then he would go like this. Steve Miner is the he I'm talking about.
Yes.
And I was supposed to bite down on the capsule and the blood was supposed to do this, which they would have cut because they would have said, that's too much blood. And it wasn't breaking. So I don't know how many times we did that. I mean, gosh, I've never been asked that. It's been so long. I'm going to say we did the dolly shot probably 8 times. The popping out of bed. It took all night, because they do different angles. They needed to get the angle of Jerry Wallace. They want to make sure they get Bill hanging out in the back.
Yes.
Bill, Jeff and Sandra first.
It's funny, Jeff and Sandra. I love your death scene where it's not very bloody at all, but it's suspenseful. Everyone knows you're going to get it. I always say this: there's something extra special, I think, about the first 2 Friday the 13th films. The atmosphere, the cinematography, the overall mood that I think got lost somewhere towards the middle. Love them all for different ways, but those first 2 are extra special. But your death is just like your death scene is like it's almost like Janet Leigh when she throws her hand, like.
Yeah.
It never gets old. I love it. Every year it's on. It's like, we're watching it. Even if it's 3-4 times in one weekend, we're watching it for Friday the 13th. Jeff and Sandra, this is funny. I was just talking to Dust about this. This is the actual VHS copy that I bought when I was 12 years.
I've got one right here.
So I've had this since I was like 12. This scene was cut, but it's on the back.
Which one is it?
When they got shish kebabs together in the bed.
Oh, yes.
So I always found that funny that it's cut out of the movie, but it's on the box art. But
right, you see her going like that.
And then you see the bottom of the bed when the spear comes out.
Yeah, underneath the bed, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there's something extra special about those first 2. Maybe it's because I'm a Jersey boy. and that's New Jersey. It's the East Coast, 1 and 2. Yeah, when I was a kid, I joined the Boy Scouts of America just because I knew they were going to take us to camp where they filmed Friday the 13th.
Oh, my God, that's hysterical.
So, with a lot of like a series of movies like that, like Friday the 13th, the first couple movies to me are always the best. I feel the same way about the Scream series. Scream 1 and 2, I feel especially the first one has that vibe where as maybe you get desensitized to that vibe further along, or maybe they just change it a little bit,
Especially in a series where you've got repeat characters. It's like they're all in on the joke, so there's nothing new. It's almost as if, they're kind of like, I don't want to say smirking their way through it, but it's kind of like, the audience knows this is coming. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But I think with the Friday the 13th, with the first 2, again, it wasn't Hollywoodized or anything like that. There was, I know there were machetes through the head and things like that, but they respected the audience enough to leave some things to the imagination. Like you don't see what happens to Kirsten Baker's character. I get but you don't see me get gutted. So they leave it up to you guys to go, oh my God, what happened? You know what I mean? And it lets the audience decide for themselves just how far they will go and what happened to this character without actually having to see it in your face,
So those blood capsules that you got to take or whatever. What does that even taste like?
Cough medicine. Yeah. I worked with these British guys for 2 different pictures over the past couple of years, and the last one that I did, Snake Manor, that just came out last month. Yeah. They brought this blood from England, and I'm telling you, I mean, I want to say it tasted really good, but it wasn't gross. And I was like, put more in my mouth, because it was okay. It didn't taste like cough medicine, but apparently it's very expensive. And they didn't want to waste it all on my kill, but
right.
yeah, so that was kind of fun. But the blood capsule, it was just so hard. Not hard, but it was so soft, so it made it hard. And then the blood just kind of trickles out.
Were you on set when they filmed Tom McBride going down in the wheelchair? Were you there for that?
Sort of. I mean, I was there, but then, it's a plaster cast of his head on a fake body. So when you see it going backwards down the stairs, that I don't know where those stairs were from, but it looked like Sacré-Cœur in Paris. It looks like he was going down cathedral steps, not just a couple of steps from the lodge to the beach.
That's pretty iconic. I tried finding those stairs. They're not there anymore.
No, they're not there to begin with.
Okay. Oh, so those were built for the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it was built or if they went somewhere else to do that effect, but there was not a long, if I remember correctly, last time I watched it, I was like, wait a minute, those steps didn't go on forever. They were just like maybe, I don't know, 3 steps up to the veranda of the Packanack Lodge. But here it makes it look like he's going down this hill and rocks and all that stuff.
Pretty iconic. The Packanack Lodge is actually gone too, which is unfortunate.
Heard.
Yeah,
I heard. Well,
Yeah.
they could have done good business with that one too.
That and the casino. The casino burnt down a few years.
I heard, yeah.
A lot of the stuff is gone. The house, the opening scene with Adrian King.
Yes.
That house, my wife and I tried finding it. It's just a parking lot now.
It's like there's a curse. They wanted these things down so that people don't go there try to recreate the murders.
What was it like working with Steve Miner? Because he went on to direct part 3.
Yeah. He was, it's so funny because he was young too. I mean, not as young as we were, but he was young. I even talk about it now with these young directors. It's like when they're not on set, they're yucking it up. Mm-hmm. Like he was always yucking it up with Amy and John Fury. Mm-hmm. They were always yucking it up together. But once he was on set, it was just probably because we had a budget and X amount of time to do this film. He was we got to get it done. So he was very professional on set. He knew what he wanted and he was going to get what he wanted. And he just was laser focused on getting this work done, getting this vision for this film done and doing it right and making sure it's neat and it's got continuity.
It's interesting to hear you say that because within the Friday the 13th fan base, the fans are like, the continuity kind of does this throughout the series with the way Jason looks and stuff like that. But part 2 has become one of my all-time favorite sequels over the years. There's just a charm to it. Yeah. 2, and 4. How long was it until you realized you were in the montage in the beginning of part 4?
Oh, I don't know. Was it you who told me?
I might have, but you're in the beginning of part 4. It's like, how long was it before you got royalties for that? Because you're actually in part 4.
I don't get royalties for any of those.
Wow.
I get $50 a year for royalties for Friday the 13th.
For Friday's Paramount, what are you doing?
Everybody thinks this is so funny because everybody, I live in a little old stone house in upstate.
That blows my mind because in all seriousness, it's like one of the greatest horror films. Like Friday the 13th is like legendary. It's iconic. How do you not get royalties?
It's legend and people make assumptions. I mean, even people, not my friends, but people that kind of, like they know who you are from church or whatever, things like make a lot of assumptions like, oh, she lives in the mansion, she's rolling in dough, she travels to here and there every year. It's like, no, I don't do any of that, and I don't have any of that, and I got an old Subaru and a 2014 Toyota. I mean, come on. So they all think that we because they hear about the people on Friends, and all those TV shows where they're just rolling in it because it was a different time. But back in the 70s and 80s, our union we didn't have any deals like that with the union.
It's interesting. I'm a nobody, but I did a paranormal show and people think I get royalties. And I'm like, dude, I got paid a flat rate. That's it. done.
Yeah. Flat rate and done. Yep.
Yeah. But no, you're super humble. And I love that about you. I know you did a fan film. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Friday the 13th fan film you've done?
So the one that I just did, it's with Bobby Heckman, and he original did a movie called Victim No More. Yes. So
I've got it on Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yes. As do I. And I've got the hat too, and the T-shirt. And he was doing it's called Loose Ends Victim No More 2, and he was planning that. And I guess he had seen In a Violent Nature or something. So he came up to me and at one of the things that we were doing. He goes, "I got a script I think you might be interested in." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I'm looking at it, he goes, "The only catch is that it's another monologue." And I'm like, "It cannot be 13 pages long like the In a Violent Nature monologue. I can't do that again. I cannot memorize that."
Great movie. I was really hoping you were going to be in the sequel. I know you're not, but In a Violent Nature is...
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice, but he wanted it to be a standalone, away from the final girl is not in it either.
We all wanted to know what happened to your character.
Well, you never know. If part 2 does well, you never know.
Maybe he'll come back.
And Ryan and I talk about it all the time, do fisticuffs with the woman, or maybe they have a connection.
Yeah, that's what my wife and I were like, "Oh, she's related to Johnny."
A lot of people,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many. I've done 3 major conventions over the past few months. Everybody has said, "We thought you were going to kill her," or we think you're in cahoots with Johnny. Is your character related to Johnny? I said, "I don't know. All I know is when we were doing it, Chris Nash had to stop me a few times, and he said, 'Be careful how you look at her,' because I was actually driving that truck too. Don't forget." And so I and there were other pickup trucks coming on that dirt road with me once, and not a lot, but I would say probably a dozen times throughout the day. So I had to look at her, and so he would stop. He goes, "You looked at her." And I said, "I had to look at her because I had dialogue with her." He goes, "Just be careful how you look at her." He said, "Because we don't want the audience to know whether you're a good Samaritan or a bad old lady." That should be called old.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I cut you off because I got excited when you brought up In a Violent Nature. The Friday the 13th fan film that you were in. Yeah.
So Victim No More, part 2, Loose Ends. I cannot tell you what the character is. I will say that Bobby Heckman, who wrote and directed it with, co-directed it with Catherine Mary Stewart, he let me name my character, which I thought was nice. So I picked a name the name of Julia. I always thought the name Julia was very pretty, so I picked the name Julia. But I have a little monologue, and it's a nice twist, and it's definitely related to Friday the 13th Part 2.
Cool. I could have sworn I seen you in another one.
That one called 9 Lives. That was during COVID. Yeah, they sent me a little script and everything like that. So I just self-taped it at home. It was horrible lighting, and I felt bad, when I saw it. I was like, ugh. So that was another one where Vickie is still alive. And that's why for people who have seen that one.
Yeah.
And then they saw In a Violent Nature, and they're like, "Is that Vickie?" Because some people think it's Vickie who's still alive and living up in northwestern Canada somewhere. Because you never see Vickie's body moving.
You don't. You don't.
Death, she could have been faking her death and run out of there, and Jason doesn't see that she's not lying around with Kirsten Baker and all the other dead people.
Yeah. And that was Jerry Wallace.
Yes, Jerry. I've been saying it for years. This is so funny. I've been saying it for years. I'm like, when everybody says to me, "Was that Warrington?" No, it wasn't Warrington.
It wasn't Steve Dash.
It was not Dash who killed me. And I said it was one of our PAs, our crew guys, Jerry Wallace. I said they put the sack on his head. They gave him the overalls. I said, "There's a picture in my photo album of him dragging me down the steps."
Yep.
Somebody took with my camera.
I love it.
Had my camera on set. And now when he just started going to conventions last November, we did one together, or October.
And you guys do a photo op. Yeah, that's so cool. I didn't know until recently that
with these.
Yeah, it was, yes, the infamous brown panties. Don't let your husband see those.
He's seen them. At first, he was upset about it. But
I know.
It's not. It's okay. It's not.
That's funny.
you know.
Yeah, so like 3 or 4 different people played Jason in part 2 because a woman actually played Jason
Ellen.
in the beginning. Yes.
Yeah, Ellen Lauder did. Yeah, she was our
Just walking in the beginning.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So, but it was so funny because when I went to the convention in October, a creature feature in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I hadn't seen Jerry since I went home, since we wrapped back in 1980. I hadn't seen him. I knew what he looked like because his convention agent, Chris, sent me his banner, his photo. I was like, thank you for saying that, because I would never have known, because last time I saw him, he had dark, wavy hair, you know, and he was wearing the Jason outfit and all that. So when I saw him, it was like, and I was like, oh my God, I said, you look like Tim Gunn from Project Runway. And anybody who watches it, any ladies or men who watch that show out there would know who I'm talking about. So
it is a pillowcase. I always say it's a pillowcase because the first time you see Jason is after he killed Jeff and Sandra.
Yeah.
And in my mind, he takes the pillowcase and puts it on. It's not a potato sack. It's a pillowcase.
It is a pillowcase. Yes. It with a whole cut. And, he has that black and blue thumb. Because when he was moving a piece of equipment off,
that's real.
It landed on his thumb. Doesn't have it. I mean, obviously it's been 45 years. Of course he does. I mean, I have one right now that I've had for about 8 months, and the door closed on me.
When you stayed over at that camp, did you experience anything that may have been considered paranormal?
Oh, that happens at my house all the time. Not at the camp. Camp. Okay, I didn't experience anything at the camp that was creepy like that. What creeped me out was the darkness, because I was a city girl. All my life, I've heard sirens and trains and buses and police cars and people blasting music and people fighting, gunshots, the usual stuff, dogs barking. For me to be in that complete darkness, and Eric and I have spoken about this before, where I've had experiences because I lived across the street from a cemetery about 8 years of my life. Mm-hmm. So I've had some experiences with the paranormal there. So as a teenager doing Friday, was I a teenager still? Was I 20 years old? 19. I was 19. Being in that setting gave me the heebie-jeebies because I know what darkness has. I didn't know anything about the area. Like I live near an old American Indian burial ground. People have built houses where I live on top of old cemeteries. A lot of activity here. But because of my experiences with the paranormal and living across the street from the cemetery, I felt very vulnerable at the camp. But I didn't experience anything at that camp. Was it there? Probably. I may have been too busy to let it in, but it was probably there because I'm usually pretty sensitive.
So, Connecticut's known for its haunting, so...
What stuff have you experienced in your home?
Oh my gosh. Oh, you name it. Well, when we first moved here, at 11:11 at night, there would be very similar to the one I saw when I was about years old, and another one that I saw upstate New York when I was about 9 or 10. Just a light just walking past our back windows, and then it would keep going. And I would see it at 11:11 all the time. And then I think 3 years ago, I told Eric about this, maybe 4 years ago. We were having a chat on our security cameras at 2:30 in the morning. It caught a lady in white, okay? And it was at 2:34 in the morning. There is no way any of us were out at 2:34 in the morning. And my husband said, oh, that's just an old image that it thinks it. Look at the image. She's got a bonnet, a high neck lace, a top, and it's flowy. And she's sad, and her eyes are downcast, and she's just walking. I said, that's got to be 11:11, lady. You know what I mean? So, and we have a lot where we are. I live near the Revolutionary War Trail. So there's a lot of stuff here, a lot. And I feel it a lot. I mean, times where I've walked my dogs and I've had to go, and I've froze and turned around very slowly because I could swear there was someone just right behind me. You know that feeling.
Absolutely.
Where we freeze. So that's happened. And my grandmother's sister had passed away when I was about 9 or 10 years old, and we went up to Utica. I never met her. I never met this sister. Her name was Gladys. And the night before the wake, it was this beautiful old Victorian house. The double doors open, and I'm laying there on the couch asleep because that's where they made me sleep. And in comes this figure, and I just went, ugh, and I covered my head, and she kept going, and I heard my grandmother yell out. It's so funny because she had the same openness that I have. She goes, Gladys, what are you doing here? You're dead.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. You're for guys like us, like we go looking for it. I've never seen a ghost. I've had experiences with ghosts, the disembodied voices, stuff like that, but like I've never full on seen an apparition.
Oh yes. I say I don't think I've ever been spoken to. So we have kind of like, maybe they're talking to me for you. Have we spoken since? Well, my mother.
You had me on your podcast. I think it was 3 years ago.
It was a long time. It was more than that.
2023.
It was the first year I was taking care of my mother because I think I told you what happened. She lived with us for 2 years, actually, almost to the day. She lived with us. I had to take care of her. She was very, 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 very sick. I was, in my room and I wasn't sleeping well because I was always afraid that she would be calling out to me. So, we have baby monitors at that point. I heard somebody right in my left ear. She's already dead. And I woke up and I was just like, and the dog was startled too, because we have, now we have another dog, but we have Border Collie. He used to sleep with us. He sat up and I sat up, and his ears went like this, like a German Shepherd. So he heard it and he kept looking. Usually when you calm down, you pet them, they calm down. His ears stayed up and he just kept looking towards the window where that friggin' security camera is, by the way. So that was weird. And she wasn't dead. I mean, I actually got out of bed and went into her room, and just checked in on her. And I thought, and then she lived for another year after that. But it was just, when I look back at how ill she was already dead. She just stayed alive for 2 more years. So yeah, it's kind of weird, right?
That's freaky.
And you would think, with all the horror movies that I've done up until now, because I've done a few more now that I'm older too, you would think I'd be getting creeped out more, but I don't know. I'm not. I mean, I'm not. Maybe because I have a carry and conceal license now too. I don't know. If I see a sack.
That helps.
Well, that brings up my next question. So have you ever filmed a scene and then you actually had nightmares that night from it?
Yeah, I think the one I did, because it's also not a fear of mine, but I see them so often that you wouldn't think I would be afraid of them. But I did this movie called Snake Manor with Dark Temple Motion Pictures. They did He Sees You When You're Sleeping, which came out the year before last. British guys, really nice guys. And spoiler alert, I get my comeuppance. I play kind of a really just an aging gold digger who's just nasty. And I get eaten by a giant snake. So, of course, that translates into being a trail runner, seeing a snake, because you see all kinds of rattlesnakes and copperheads. And I just think about that. So, you go and you think, oh, sweet dreams, that type of thing. And it took me a while. But it wasn't until I'd been trail running after filming the movie the following summer. I'm out and there they are and they're all out and the rattlesnakes are all out. I had a dream. I had a dream about one of them just latching onto my face. Instead of from here, like in the movie, I had a dream that it just opened its mouth and I was just like, ah! And the Border Collie, of course, is in bed like this. Nah, it's just a dream.
Right.
I hate snakes. No bueno.
And you're down there. Don't you have a lot of snakes in the Carolina?
I want to say a lot. We've been here like 2 years now. I've seen 1 or 2 in the backyard, but they're, the little guys.
Oh, no. We had our neighbor was kind of mad at him because it's kind of illegal in New York. But he saw a rattlesnake crossing near our front yard. And we live on a dead-end street. And he made a point of running it over. And it was on my property. And when he told me about it, I said, dude, that's not okay. And he goes, well, I thought I was, protecting you. And I'm like, they're more afraid of us than we are. I mean, I've actually jumped over a copperhead a few years ago. I was, doing my run. It was almost the end of my run. And I see this thing go like this. I went, whoosh. And I'll tell you, it's a mile home from where I run. I ran so fast. I was like the road runner. It's like you jump up, your legs go like this, and then you take off. And the whole time, I must have done like a 2-minute mile. I don't know. But I'm looking behind me as if he's following me the whole time. Like, that's where the horror movie actor thing comes in. Because if you are afraid of something, it's multiplied by thousands because you envision yourself in a horror movie.
Right. Well, and when you're in a horror movie, if you're running from the bad guy, you're not supposed to look back because that's how you die.
She didn't even get a chance to run.
Oh,
she was petrified.
I was petrified. Oh yeah, but you're right. You shouldn't look back because all of a sudden it's going to be in front of you. Ah!
Do you have any conventions coming up?
Oh, I do, but they're not confirmed yet.
Okay. So I know you just did Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I just did Atlanta, but I might be, she said it very loosely, I might be going to Tennessee. It hasn't been announced yet, but yeah. Might be doing another one closer by in New Jersey in May. And I'm not going to London. My husband doesn't want me to fly overseas right now. And we all know why. So those are the two ones, but I'll announce them on both my website, my LaurenRetailer.com website, and of course, on the Instagram, I'll announce it. But I have to wait until the contract is signed for the one that's coming up in Tennessee. I'm getting, other stuff because of the popularity of In a Violent Nature. So that's, I would say I've been signing a lot of posters and DVDs and whatnot for In a Violent Nature. So that's cool. But I always ask, whenever like you or anybody sends me, or if I have friends who live somewhere, they send me stuff. They're like, Lauren, can you get to Texas? Are you going to come to Texas? One of my best friends is from Texas. And I'm like, she knows about the con. It's just a matter of the list and also people requesting me to go. If enough people say, hey, I see you're having this person, this person, this person, why don't you bring out Lauren Marie? So sometimes that helps.
Do you ever watch like a horror film, and since you were in one and so a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, you ever see a scene and go, I know exactly how they did that?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Because of what do they call it? The special effects and the CGI, and I'm not really the movies that I've done have been trying to be more traditional practical effects.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, except obviously there's some. But yeah, once in a while I'll look at like a kill scene or a chop 'em up scene, or and I'll go, oh yeah, they had to build this, that, and the other thing, and then they had to have the pump going through there on the fake side of the face, and that's prosthetic. Oh yeah. Yeah. So one of the most fun ones was the Substance, because it just got so out of control, and I was like, oh my God, they really went all out with this one.
I think that's one of the reasons why those movies stick out so well, is the practical effects. Tom Savini, he's the best.
Oh.
And then, your movie, if you want to talk a little bit about Carl Fullerton, yes.
Yeah. He was really nice. I have a picture of him up here. I can grab it. Actually, you might be able to see it from where you are. It's right above my Jason. Oh no. Ah! Okay, I've had this forever. I took this picture.
Yeah, and that's Warrington.
Yeah, that's Warrington.
And who's the fellow with the mustache?
Didn't he become like a really big special effects guy and do like Batman?
Might have.
I think that was his protege name, but
yeah, I forget. There's so many people involved.
Sure he moved on to become really big in the special effects industry. Yeah. So he was really cool. What did I do recently? Okay, so we were talking about Tom Savini. I just did a movie with Eileen Dietz called Christmas at Aunt Betty's, right? And she plays my mother in it. And Bill Randolph is actually in it, as is Ron Milkey. So they needed, I can't say what happened, but it's coming out soon. And so they had a special effects guy for my, spoiler alert, of course, thing going on. And he studied at Tom Savini's school or whatever. I guess he has a program. He was a graduate of Tom Savini's program.
Nice.
Yeah, so he was so excited that, he was like, oh my God, I can't tell you. It's just like, I'm such a huge fan of part 1 and part 2. And then here I am doing your, special effect. And it's really cool. We took multiple pictures of the process because, it's one thing to have a body part, a small body part, or like a mold of your head that a snake eats and then have blood all over your face. But this was something that was on me that stuck out. So it had to like stick out, just completely cut. It took a while. I was surprised. I'd forgotten because, Warrington, it took forever to do his makeup. but like Tom McBride had a mold of his head.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get away with doing a hockey mask all those years. Mine was very small. Russell Todd had a mold of his neck, and they just pumped blood through. But so I had never had the treatment, not to the extent that Warrington had, but a warped part of my face because of this kill. Focusing on, pardon the pun, focusing on my eye. So it was really cool and the kit that they had, because again, it wasn't special effects. They really wanted to have realism. Mm-hmm. So we had a whole kit with all these different pieces, and it was just really cool. It was really cool.
Nice. I look forward to seeing that movie. Do you know what it's going to be on?
I think they're going to do a showing of it at this possible convention that I'm doing at the end of May in New Jersey.
Okay, so I'm assuming Monster Mania, because
no.
Oh, okay. Because I went to a lot of. In fact, when we first met, it was like over 20 years ago. It was Monster Mania.
Yeah.
I think it was in Parsippany. I think.
Yeah, it was in Parsippany. I haven't done Monster Mania since COVID, when we did an outside thing. Okay. So, they have a different, I don't know. I was hoping to do Monster Mania, but, they have different people that they're bringing in. They're bringing in like different type of celebrity now too. I was supposed to have plans on that weekend. So I think that's why I'm not confirmed, because they may be waiting to hear back from my agent or not. I'm going to switch plans for that weekend to go to the convention instead. Yeah.
Do you have any social media or anything that you would like to promote?
I'm just on Instagram at Lauren Marie Taylor 1 with the number 1 behind it. It's actually me. And a lot of people think, oh, she has somebody do it for her. That's why it takes me so long to get back to messages, because like sometimes I'm overwhelmed. But I do have a website. It's just my name, laurenmarietaylor.com, and has little videos and trailers and things like that. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not on Facebook because every time I try to post something on Facebook, it winds up on somebody else's wall. So don't bother trying to get in touch with me on Facebook or whatever, because it's just, I'm so dumb when it comes to Facebook. And then on my website is where I'll post, the appearances and trailers. And I have to put up a trailer for a short that I did actually. Anyway, but that's where but I have another thing that's coming out. It's on Rad TV right now. That's the interview coming out. It's called Slow Burn, and it's with B. Harrison Smith as the director. And he made the very first full-length AI horror movie.
I heard you talking about that on another podcast.
Yeah, so that just came out Valentine's Day / Friday the 13th of this past month, and it's an interesting concept. He did a remarkable job. He's been working on it since I believe last July, and asked to use my likeness and sampled my voice, all kinds of other things. So it's really cool, and it's a creepy ass quote. I call it a horror love story, but it's fun what he did with it. And I don't think that it's going to take over at people, just like animation. We didn't get rid of live actors or live action just because they're animations. It's like Beauty and the Beast. It's you're always going to have human actors. So it was just fun to see the depth of what can be done with the technology. It's really cool, and it's fun to be a part of something that's groundbreaking in our genre.
Definitely look forward to all your new projects. I really was hoping you were going to be in A Violent Nature too, but I saw you posted yesterday that you're not in it. I'm like, oh no, I thought she was filming that.
I know. I can't tell you how many people thought I was being coy. Because I've been saying it for a few months now, and they're like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like, no, really, I'm not in it. I swear I'm not in it. So when I was surprised at the reaction that people had, where they said, we really thought you were going to be in on it. And I was like, no, I wasn't.
Do you still have a podcast or no?
I'm waiting. I've had that question from a lot of fans at conventions. Until I can give it 100%, I don't want to go back to it, because I do everything myself. I do all the questions, the editing, the music, everything. And I've through one storage space of all of my mother's stuff, because you have to understand, my mother was a super shopaholic / hoarder. Mm-hmm. But my garage, I can't even walk into my garage.
Okay.
So I have to take care of.
Was that on a YouTube channel? Well, like, where was that podcast at?
It was on, on Spotify.
Yeah, it was on Spotify. Okay. It was just audio, right? There was no video.
Yeah, it was just audio. So it's on like Apple or whatever. Yeah, the Not the Final Girl podcast. There are links that are on my website. You know, you can always click on the link on the website. Don't listen to the early ones, like, well, because I was like, didn't know what I was doing.
they're all still on Spotify. Dust, I sent you my interview from a few years ago.
So the answer is, I was hoping to get back to it this spring, but the winter has been so brutal, and because our garage is outside and it's not heated, I did not want to spend any time taking stuff out and going through things. So when it's up and running, everybody will know. But the plan is to get back to it. Yes.
What's your favorite kill from
mine or in the series?
Well, I guess your movie and the whole series.
My favorite kill is getting eaten by a snake.
Okay.
But for our film, kind of get creeped out by Russell Todd being hanging upside down. That creeps me out. The thought of, because, again, I do trail running, getting caught in a bear trap, whoosh, swinging upside down with nobody there to help you, and then some guy with a sack, pillowcase over his head, wielding a knife comes and cuts your throat and bleeding out.
I can understand that. It's the wheelchair kill for me. It's iconic. It's like in the top 3 of the whole series. And then, your favorite Friday the 13th movie out of the whole franchise. What's your favorite?
Besides part 2, okay, so my favorite of the whole series, besides part 2, no, I'm just kidding, is part 6.
Part 6, fantastic.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a very fun movie.
Well, it was fun chatting with you. Who knows? Eric and I are talking about maybe doing like a few different series with some of the interviews that we're doing. So who knows? Maybe we'll have you on again. Maybe when one of your other projects come out, it'd be fun. Or
you should take the show on the road and go to a few cons and visit us. Well, thank you for having me on. I wish you a very, very happy Friday the 13th.
Everybody, like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out Lauren Marie Taylor. Her links are in the description, as well as Eric Vitale. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Over Friday the 13th, Part 2, rated R.
Now showing. Check your newspapers for theaters and showtime.
The production's clear the smoke. Drama loud, truth gets spoken up. Join the Dustbusters, stand up, sweep the